Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area. We had some technical difficulties on Black Man and Filters Network. We're hoping to get that resolved, certainly as the show goes on. But certainly, we are going live. This is just a straight live, certainly on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner as always.
This is Sparta!
The ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panagiotis. And again, this is the Gray Area, and like I said, we hope to get reconnected with BMU as the show goes on, or at least, at the very least, to get a replay, certainly going on the channel on both streams later on. Be sure you get a chance to like both both channels as we go on. And certainly, anything. I don't know if you can have cash apps, if you have scrolling cash apps that you can apply as well.
I do actually. I can
Yeah, so
use.
if you can drop those, yeah, because they're the same on each network. So again, cash apps, certainly that you want to give to us, we'd appreciate it. You can certainly drop it there. So you'll see the cash app scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, we're live, and we're just going to get into the nitty gritty. Certainly just to save some time. But good to be with you guys on this Sunday. Almost not 95 degrees and humid out there. So yeah, it's going to get to the hundreds next week. So certainly summertime is here. But certainly looking forward to this topic. So just want to ask Pete. So again, the idea is, should certainly young people, should kids always be taught to respect adults no matter what? And that's a pretty big caveat to put on there. So just want to ask you, what was the impetus for the episode, and what are your initial thoughts on the topic?
So I mentioned before, I'm a chef. I'm in a nursing home environment, and I work with a lot of younger kids. Some of them are very respectful. Some of those whippersnappers, ooh, they have a mouth on their asses, and like to the point like they're about to say, "Oh, I'm gonna curse you the fuck out." I'm like, I would never in a million years curse out anybody elderly at my age. Back then, I mean, it was when I was 15. Now I can curse anybody out. I'm old enough to do whatever I want. But when I was, 16, 17, 18, even 12, would you ever curse anybody out at 12 years old? That was your elder? Let's say your mom's friend.
Yeah. Now, I just full disclosure. Certainly, I cursed my mom out when I was about 13, 14 years old. But again, that was just a very toxic and certainly a very stressful situation. And, it just reached sort of a breaking point. And surely about a year later, my dad came back into my life. I went to live with my dad, and certainly my mom, she certainly I cursed. Certainly through a violent act, she had to be committed to a mental institution. That was the first time she was officially institutionalized. And so because of that, it was it became a situation. And, so yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't, I don't approve that, certainly, but it's hard for me, again, just given that situation. At the same time, I can understand it. If someone was in a similar situation with a parent, someone who's being an adult who was abusing a kid, should they still be able to display respect when that disrespect is shown to them? I think even the Bible talks about certainly children obey your parents, but then it also say parents don't provoke your children to wrath. And so certainly there's a balance here, understanding who a person is ultimately. Is certainly, if someone is made in the image of God, that their respect should be given to a certain degree across the board. And when that disrespect is given, then I think it certainly needs to be dealt with, whether it be the parents or the authority figure or the child or what have you. But I certainly believe that a certain level, we definitely need to be raising our children or young people in general with a respect for older people, with a respect for position, with respect for authority. I think those are good fundamental lessons, and I know we cover some of that certainly on the Next Gen Training Show. Where we talk about teaching how to respect, and then you getting respect back. But I do believe that respect can be lost. But even then, when it's lost, then the question still becomes, to what degree do you still show respect? Because there's situations like, I know we work with a lot of military guys. We know a lot of military guys, and you can have a senior official who could just be a total jerk, but you still have to show them that respect, because it's not so much as the person, it's also
Exactly.
the uniform, it's the position, and respect always deals with position. In fact, I remember one time I looked at I did a Bible class on this, that the main difference between love and respect is that respect is usually about a position, whereas love is about a person. And so they represent different things. That if you can have both love and respect in a person, then I think that's an ideal situation. So
Hmm.
like, my wife loves me because she loves Paul, she loves me, but she also respects the fact that I'm her husband. And so that respect factor is such that allows things to work. And I likewise, I love her because of who she is, but then I also love her because she's my wife. And I know even biblically, there are some things that I am charged with, there are things I'm responsible for. And my relationship with God is going to be affected by how I treat my wife. And so there has to be a certain level of respect shown for her if I want anything, certainly out of God. He's monitoring that as well. So, but yeah, but I think children in general, you have to raise them up, certainly with a fear of, and when I mean fear, I don't mean like a cowering, but a respect for. I would say that the Bible sometimes uses fear, but certainly a respect for authority, a respect for institutions, a respect for traditions. That doesn't mean they have to go 100% in support of a tradition that doesn't fit them anymore, or certainly recognizing the new age that we're in. But I think you got to start people with that. And I think the problem is that for a lot of people, especially in the society that we live in, we're not seeing respect shown on any level to anybody. And especially we've seen it in the last, I would say probably the last 20 years, just with our political process. Like, if the leaders of the country will not show respect for the presidency, or for the Congress, or for the courts, then again, how can it's going to be harder to then instill that, yeah, in young people, yes, you need to be able to respect these things. If you're not seeing that example through our political leaders, and then you also have the idea of history being at play, where again we learned, especially in the 60s, especially during Vietnam. I've talked about how I've had an affinity for Vietnam and that era of the 60s, and how much turmoil was in the country. That was basically viewed by a lot of people as, well, young people not respecting authority. But at the same time, the people found out that the authority wasn't what they said they were. And so, what do you do in that situation where, hey, we were told certain things to be true, and we found out that they're not, and now, but you still expect us to respect the authority? And so that caused, again, a lot of upheaval in the country. And so, that I think might have been like the beginning of, certainly where the generational divides really kind of got put in place. And it was even manifested in some of our entertainment, like All in the Family, with Archie Bunker and his son-in-law Michael, and that dynamic. You started to see that for a lot of people, that said, well, why do I have to respect you? And now you also add to this the idea of technology. Yeah, we've had shows on the generational divides, the generational gaps, and everything, and the disagreements between the generations. But technology is also saying that I don't have to necessarily respect you, because back then it was through respect that you got access to information and teaching and training. So it's like, you being in the martial arts. So you have a sifu, a qigong. I don't know what how you say it in your discipline. I know some people use sifu, some people say use qigong, but the idea is, you had to respect obviously your teachers in order for them to then impart knowledge and information to you. But now, it's sort of in this YouTube generation, it's like, well, if I can learn this anyway, then why do I need to respect you? And so we also have this paradigm of respect having to be earned, rather than respect having to be shown, or respect having to be given. Because before, the respect was actually tied to your progression. And now people
Mhm.
are saying, well, I don't have to do that anymore. So it's a lot of layers. It's a lot of layers to this. But I want to certainly get into the no matter what piece as the show goes on. But
Let-
you can certainly
Let's
get you
let's
can totally.
backtrack for a second here. Let's talk about the discipline, like you said, my martial art discipline. In any Asian discipline, the first thing they teach you is respect. You respect your elders. You respect your instructor. You respect your sensei. You respect the bull guy next to me. You just respect. If they don't say respect during classes or in the dojo or on the mat or whatever you want to call it, but it is huge in the whole training process. That's why we bow so much. Bow is a form of handshake,
Mhm.
but it's also a form of what they Paul.
Oh, it's definitely a sign of respect.
There you go.
But
So
let me ask you this as well.
good.
And we dealt with this when we had a gray area show where we were talking about love.
Hmm.
How much of that respect um, needs to come out of some sort of fear? Can you have respect without fear? I guess is the question that I would raise. And yeah, well, what's your general take on that? That there has to be. I don't mean like like just cowering down to someone, but without a little bit of fear, can you truly have respect for authority? Like you say in your dojo, yeah, you're gonna have some respect because if you're not, then you're gonna get beat up. So I mean, it's is that something that can we ask respect of something that we don't fear?
Hmm. That is a good question because lately I have a different relationship with respect because I learned respect is a different. You take things a different way. Because I also learned it from you, actually, Paul. You said respect is not given; it is not earned, but it's given.
Correct.
And I'm realizing it. Like I don't want to say names just yet, but people don't know how to give it, but they're asked for it. So if you don't show respect, how do you expect me to show you respect? It goes both ways here, I believe. Or
Yeah.
am I wrong, Paul?
Yeah. No, that's why because in recent years I've sort of changed my paradigm on that because again I kind of grew up with that. Oh, well, you got to earn my respect. That was always something that was certainly growing up as a youth. That was always something that was kind of pitched to you. But then again, as I got older, I realized that again, if you don't give respect, you can't expect that to be given back to you. So you're better off giving it first. Now again, respect can be lost, and trust certainly can be lost. But I've just found it easier to get more what I want out of life from showing that early on. It's like a key. It's like it gives you access to rooms and information and money financially. I mean, just so many things that you gain from giving. Even though, so yeah, you give it up front, but there is a transactional piece to it that more times than not you benefit from. But again, there's always going to be those exceptions. That again, those people who break your trust, those people who are abusive, and again that respect isn't reciprocated. And so I certainly recognize that does happen, and it can be difficult then. And so it's in those times because that's really I think where we're driving the conversation. What if you're in a situation where you're being disrespected? What should your response be in that situation? And I think that's going to be different based on the level where you are, your age. So, like, and if adult is disrespecting a child, should that child still show respect? Um, I don't know if everyone's going to have the same answer on that. I would say yes. It's like I said, you have to also be able to distinguish between positions and personal. And again, that's something that a child, for example, may not get. And when I say child, I mean anyone under 12 years old.
Mhm.
They may not get that. They may not, be able to make those distinctions between the person and the position. But again, I mean, we've grown up. I've had some, bad teachers. I've had teachers who were abusive or would be abusive to children in class, call them different names. Back then, it was definitely a lot less PC, and so
You think?
teachers could get away with saying a lot of different things to you. Even coaching. I mean, my basketball coach, I still got some stuff that he used to say. But at the same time, we didn't take it as disrespect though, because again, we respected the position that he had. And so for us, and I think also the fact that everyone was going through it, I think that was another thing. The fact that we were all kind of getting, if the idea, if the star player can get that treatment, then anybody can get it.
Mm-hmm.
So if he yelled at the team superstar, then we weren't going to be immune from it either when we got the mistake. So it's like the fact that we were all kind of going through it, that kind of bonded us together, certainly as a team under that. But that's a hard question, to ask a young person. But again, it depends on what that disrespect looks like. But again, how you respond to it based on your level. Now, if you're talking about a teenager, which at the or younger, late teens, early 20s type of person, like, what you're working with, the people that you're working with,
Most of them are still high school or
still in
about to
high
graduate
school.
high school,
Yeah.
and that is it can be difficult, very very difficult at times.
Mhm. Yeah.
It just patience goes very thin sometimes with me. When it comes to that, like I run out of patience very fast sometimes because I feel like I'm talking to the goddamn wall. If that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm done talking to the wall. It just trying to tell somebody 100 times to do X, Y, and Z. It's pretty hard sometimes, Paul, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the attitude comes out, and I'm like, oh man, I just wish I could just give you a little backhand.
Hmm.
But we know we cannot do that in real life,
Yeah. Yeah.
muchly.
And obviously, I
And
mean, the fact that you're working with teens, I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of entitlement. I think um, there's a lot of things that they weren't taught,
mhm.
you know, and also again, what the consequences are. So again, these aren't institutions like where they necessarily have to stay at. Like they say, okay, well, this is just a job. I don't have to keep this job. I can quit and get another job. Another thing too, as far as should you respect or not, what are your options? What options have been given to you? Can you just leave this and be placed somewhere else? Or if this is like, look, this is the only job, like I got to keep this job. So now you have to make a calculation to say, hey, I need to keep this together, or I better start respecting Pete, because if I don't, then I'm not going to have a job. I'm going to be in trouble. And again, I think consequences have to be also tied to respect, and that's why I asked the question earlier about fear. Can you truly have respect without some sort of fear that allows that respect to be constantly shown? That's what I'm saying with young kids. That's why I think you teach them with a certain admonition. I think you certainly teach them a certain respect. Like if you do these things with the police, you can wind up in jail or whatever. Or if you mess with an older person or whatever and saying that things can be done to you. I think starting those kind of things early, like I said, a recruit in the military. If you disrespect, your drill sergeant or whatever, I mean,
Oh,
God
you're
help
getting
you.
smoked. You're getting
Yeah,
smoked.
yeah, God help you if that happens. So I think that I do think fear has to be somewhat of a component until now. Again, I think there's an opposite of fear that really comes into play, and that is trust. You don't have to have fear if you have trust
Hmm.
and genuine affection and impact. Oh, there we go. Genuine affection and impact on a person, that you've established that kind of relationship where they have so much trust for you, and you've earned their affection,
See,
that they see in
that's
you
the hard one.
your benefit. Yeah.
Because you're in the military, you're not gonna show respect. You're not gonna ask for respect. You're gonna goddamn demand. I'm gonna put my foot up your fucking ass. You like it or not, motherfucker, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because if I'm your senior officer and I tell you drop and give me 100, you're gonna tell me fuck you. You're not gonna do that. There are a few soldiers that would talk back, obviously. Those who go talk back usually get smoked. They don't get promoted as much and all that stuff. And I wish that Rob or CQ or King or Mandrell, any of those guys could be up here and say that to me, and they're going to agree with me. But besides that, where the military is different, police officers different. Anybody in authority is different because they're authority.
Teachers, yeah.
Teachers and things like that. Like myself, I'm in a position of authority. Most of my kids are cool. I'll be honest with you. They're mostly cool. There were some little punk ass bastards, but I give them the look, and they know what the look is. And I tell them that, and they, okay, Pete's not in a good mood. Let's not fuck around with him. You know what I'm saying? And I had a kid I worked in my last job. I used to break his fucking balls so fucking bad. I thought he was gonna start crying one of these days. And one day he came back with a smart comment like, oh, I went, my man. I'm like, hey, Cass, what's going on? I went, when he came with a smart comment, oh shit, he got me good. So, and that's a good thing. Like, and like even joking around, like I tell people, if I'm joking around and breaking your balls, I respect you and I like you. If I don't do that and I'm not speaking to you, you better not even speak to me because your time is your time. You're on borrowed time here. That means.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It certainly does. And but I mean, but to your point, as far as military and whatnot, I certainly think you can earn over time. I mean, coming into it, you're going to be scared as anything. You know what I mean? It's just you do this or else. But again,
going into any new situation, you're going to be scared shitless. Let's be straight up here, guys.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, you can certainly you can certainly find yourself in that situation. But yeah, I think now when you say you say you break balls, you do all kinds of things with the I mean, is I guess it's the kind of the way you do it. Is it playful? Is it serious?
It's
Like
playful.
are you
It's
okay.
playful always. Like for example, I get this little gag box from Amazon. So when you
I think
open
I've seen this.
a spider
Yeah.
jumps up. When I worked at the university over here at ESU, East West University, I got it. Like, let me see how many people I can get with it. I'm just curious how many people are gonna fall for it. So first one was like, I do it. I gave it to my director, my boss, the big boss. She runs everybody, she fires everybody, whatever. I go, hey Janine, here. And she goes, what is this? I just open it. And she goes, okay. She goes, fucking asshole. She fucking threw it 10 feet in the air. I caught it. She goes, oh, you're a smart little fucker, aren't you? So I was like, who else I can get? I got her assistant. I got almost fucking everybody. I remember her assistant opening. I just left it on the table and see if she opens it. I'm like, I don't think she was gonna go for it. She goes, what is this? Like, I don't know. And she opens it, like, huh? She goes, you bastard. And I used to get everybody with that. My favorite one is the hose. So you doing dishes and whatever, little handle hose in the kitchens. They'll go walk by, go a little squirt, like a little water gun, a little squirt, and you get them wet, and they usually turn around like motherfucker. That's how you get them. My one time I got away with this. I'm never going to do it again because I thought I was going to die. Was one of my shoe chefs. She was a big country girl and a girly girl at the same time. Her last day. That's the only reason I got away with it because she was really big on her makeup. I took the hose. I went, Jess, my farewell gift is this to you. She was, what was that? Soaked her from head to toe.
Oh man.
And the only good thing about that was it was summertime, 80 degrees out. So she didn't care. We had a locker room, we all change. But I fucked up her makeup so bad. I thought I was gonna die actually. But they're all innocent jokes. Nothing is gonna hurt anybody, I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't fuck around with the food, number one.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with anything else like that. It was a small period of time. People were fucking with people's drinks, and I put a stop to it fast. And they were taking salt and put it in people's drinks. And they got me really bad. I go, all right, you think you guys are funny? I'm going to get all of you, the whole staff once. So I took the whole case. The case holds about 30 boxes of salt, coastal salt. I opened it and I put in everybody's drinks. They call it the Black Sea in their mouth.
Mhm.
And I told them there will be the first and last time anybody puts anything in their drinks.
Mhm.
Because that thing I don't fuck around with. It's just salt. It's nothing. It's not gonna hurt anybody, but still, you show it with salt, then you turn it into something else.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I don't like that. But it happens. It's all fun and games, but you have to keep it at a certain level.
Yeah.
Right? Joking around.
Yeah.
Keep your hands to yourself. That's number one. Number two, he doesn't do anything to hurt or disrespect anybody
Mhm.
or offend somebody.
Right.
We all bowl break bowls in church, yeah, in the kitchen. We make jokes, make comments. Sometimes comments are kind of fucked up. And I always said a kitchen is a HR nightmare.
Yeah.
Things we say to each other is like, yeah, you're not supposed to. Everything you remember that one thing you said, what was that, a couple weeks ago? That they're not supposed to ask you a lot of questions at your age and all that stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
They do that. We do everything that things that we're not supposed to. We do everything.
Yeah. But see now, but in your situation, I mean, if you're dealing with, I mean, certain institutions, restaurants or whatnot, I guess I was coming from a purely corporate level.
Mhm.
So again, the rules might be a little bit different depending on the institution. But I would think that if you have like a big time HR department and whatnot, a lot of these things are kind of drilled into people as far as what they're things to ask and what not to ask. So, I don't think it's across the board. Not every company necessarily follows the same policy. If you talk about a small business entrepreneurship or what have you, then they're definitely not necessarily following any kind of
So I worked at major
rules.
companies like Compass Group. Trying to think, Compass Group. What's the other one I work for? Airmark. All the big ones, right?
Airmark, yeah, is big. Yeah, definitely.
Compass Group is bigger. Trust me, Compass Group is global. Airmark is only in schools mostly and in
Right.
prisons. They don't do healthcare.
Well, I'm just saying it's not like a private restaurant. You know what I mean? I mean
No,
they have a quite the size of
guideline.
institution. Yeah, yeah. So
So where I'm going with this is when it comes to Airmark and all these companies, they have the rules. They say that, but they still ask you all the same questions. How old are you? Are you X, Y, and Z and all this stuff? They ask you all these questions you're not supposed to. They still ask you them.
Now, how long ago was this?
So recent, I'm talking about a couple months ago.
Okay. Couple months. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of this stuff is relatively new. Like I've seen some of these changes like in the last 5 years. Well, a lot of these questions are, these things are being brought to people's attention. I've gone to virtual training sessions and whatnot where they talk about the things you can and cannot say. So I thought some of this stuff was recent. So I wasn't sure what you were quoting.
Oh, they probably have the course for it. But let me ask you a question. How many people actually follow the course?
Yeah, that's true as well. I think what they were going off of was, I guess, the interview process. Now, again, what people talk about, privately, or once you're sort of in office or whatnot. I mean, I think that's definitely going to be a little bit harder to manage.
Yeah,
But certainly when it comes to the interview process or whatnot, again, there's a way that you supposed to ask questions that don't necessarily give away, like, your age, or your marital status, are you pregnant, or you, what ethnicity are you, where you come from and whatnot. Because, they're saying that, when it comes to hiring, it shouldn't be based on any of those things, your age, sex, gender, race, sexual orientation, things of that nature. Like none of those things should necessarily come into mind. So, and then there have been lawsuits. I mean, the reason why that stuff is there is because there have probably been instances where there have been lawsuits instituted where people have, pushed back against that sort of treatment. So again, I think everything has a cause. I don't think people just come up with policy just arbitrarily. It's usually coming because there was some sort of violation of someone's rights or whatever, they felt violated in certain ways.
Or someone got hurt.
Yeah. And then they push for change, certainly in those policies in terms of how things work. So definitely, again, it may vary by institution, and how sternly they push those policies, but certainly in the corporate IT spaces that I've been in, they've been pretty good, especially as of recently, the whole employer I'm with now, they're very diverse. And so again, you see everybody, anybody, and everybody there, and certainly, they want to make sure that people feel protected and not intimidated by some sort of norms of what things should be. So certainly, my company's like 75% women. So so certain things are going to be certain things are definitely going to be watched and monitored when it comes to that kind of thing. So, but I wanted to go back to the idea of raising children. Now, I've always found to be somewhat of a curious case, because the idea that, again, I always said, you used to look at a situation and be like, oh, that person's had bad training as a kid. When you see a teenage kid disrespecting an adult, then the first thing I would always look at is, okay, well, look at their home life. They probably have the same kind of disrespect with your parents or whatnot. And I've seen, I've been in stores and whatnot where kids would be disrespectful and things of that nature. Now we'll go to that. Now you seem to be a bit different in that. Again, and we talked about this from the onset, that you and your mom or your dad, you guys kind of started off being in certain ways from the outside looking in. That's like, whoa, I can't believe he said that to his mom, or I can't believe that the mom had said that to the kid, or to Pete or whatever. So, but you guys have this dynamic that seems to work in your families, though, where you still it may look like on the outside, but still you knew, again, the boundaries which you could and could not cross. And then also it hasn't stopped you from being respectful to anybody who you meet or work with. So I can't use you or your particular situation as a case study in that. Oh yes, you see him, the way him and his mom is talking or whatever. Yeah, P is very disrespectful God. So no, you're not. You just know who you can mess with and who you can't, and you have the one of the unique privileges of being able to mess with your mom and your dad or talk in certain ways. But again, they kind of started you with that. So I mean, it's your situation is pretty unique when it comes to that. But I would still hold generally that the case is true. How children oftentimes model what they see. So if you see your parents being disrespectful to authority, and again, like I said, unfortunately, like I said, it just in this political climate that I've seen as of late, yeah, you've seen again the disrespect. Now, again, I can be very passionate about certain persons in office. I know certainly with our current administration right now, we know about the passions that were there, but again, I go all the way back to Obama. Like when I saw him in office, and you just started seeing there was like a tonal change in terms of how you respected the office. You just started to see things changing when he would do a State of the Union and people yelling out at from the crowd, "You lie." Now again, protocol should have said that if someone had an outburst like that, the sergeant at arms should escort that person out of the building because of the
Usually, yeah.
disrespect. But it did not happen, and there were other instances where that was allowed to continue. And you even see it with the population, like I really try to, as much as I can. I pray for the president, regardless who's in office. I pray every week for the president of the United States, his staff. I pray for the courts. I pray for the Congress, because I think the Bible teaches me to do that. But I really try to stay away from talking about someone as far as the character of a person. I'll talk about what I disagree with, what I think is wrong, what I think is right. But just the talk that I even heard when, again, certain people in office, even when the Bushes were in office or Obama was in office, just people on the street, just people, your coworkers who you're working with. Well, that guy's such an a-hole. That guy's just this or that. Oh, I would never shake hands with that guy. Oh, I don't want to meet that guy. It's just something that I think is so pervasive in the culture, where again you have the adults saying I don't have to respect, and every year it happens. Certainly in sports, it happens every year because team wins a championship. There's an invitation that's given to go to the White House or whatever. Some players go, and some people stay, and people have their views on that. If you go, you're a sellout. If you don't go, you're disrespecting the presidency and whatnot. So again, that age of decorum, that age of respect the office, not the person in office. Again, people are finding it harder and harder to separate those out. You have to like the person in order to get respect rather than giving respect. Now, again, if that person does something disrespectful, then again, you can certainly, you make decisions in terms of how you want to react in kind. But I just think there's just been a coarsening of respect across the board. Just people, you see commuting in the morning and the people waving at each other with one finger. The disrespect on the roads. It's just there's just a coarsening that I think, no doubt, affects the kids. If you can't see your parents showing respect and being respectful to others and not just saying to you, hey, do as I say, not as I do. Hey, dad, you told me to respect authority and whatnot, but then I see you cursing out the cops, or I see you cursing out the president, or I see you doing this or that or whatever. Like you're being very disrespectful to authority. Then why are you asking me to do it? So again, it's kind of hard to model these things when the disrespect is not demonstrated in certain ways. It's not they're not seeing it in their peers, and they're not seeing it in those who are supposed to be in authority over them. But then the authority says, well, yeah, you should do these things. So what do you think about that? Just the parenting in general. I'm not going to use, like I say, your case in particular, because yours is very different from this conversation.
Okay, so
But
I do want to test my case in a second. Like, as much I love my mom to death, but she has the worst mouth on her sometimes when you piss her off. Like, and even my father said she has a dirty, dirty, dirty fucking mouth.
was
And
she always that way? I mean,
yeah, since I can remember.
but see, that's. But I'm just curious. Is that a Greek culture thing? I'm
No,
thinking,
not
she's
good
coming
culture.
back from the '70s. So where does she get this? Now, this is she's offensive, because I do know there's a lot of people who come from a foreign country. English is their first language. A
Mhm.
lot of times you learn the swear words first. So I get that, but I'm saying, is she profane? Is she as profane in Greek as she is in English or whatever? Or I just see a lot of people, if English is your second language, you talk in Greek, but you use all the English swear words within, you mix it in with your Greek and with your
So she's
so
worse.
okay.
So her sweat is like it's been always over the level that it needs to be. And I'm not saying she's a bad person or any of that stuff. It just facts are facts. Sometimes she's fucking harsh.
But where do you think that came from, though? I'm just curious. Like, I know she didn't grow up with a silver spoon in her mouth or anything, but was it just hardening of life, or what she was shown? I mean, did her mom, your grandmother, was she like that? I mean, I'm just
I
curious, like
kind of
where.
what she had a moment, but she wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm, mhm.
Uh, I don't know where she got it from, to be honest with you. I can't say to tell you yay or nay because I don't know where she got it from.
Right, right.
Unfortunately,
But your father said she was been like that since he's been with her. So it
pretty
was
much.
so he still
Like my father, exact words are, "Y manos que fueron como son de mera ignoranza," meaning your mother had a dirty mouth from the day I met her.
oh my gosh.
I'm like, is that really a bad joke or something? Like,
Oh man.
but again, that's how she's
But
always
no, look, again, depending on the guy, like I said, I don't find a woman cursing
been.
attractive, but I know some guys do. It's like, if you
I
talk
go either
about
way. I don't
the bad girl image or whatever, a woman, some guys find a woman swearing to be the sexiest thing ever. Me, not so much, but I do know there are guys who that's a turn on for them. If a woman has a dirty mouth, she might be dirty in other areas or something like that, and they just kind of go for that. So
care.
I but your father knew from, I guess, from right away what he was signing up for. But but yeah, I mean, that's something that so again, like I said, I can't use you as an example what I'm talking about, because your mom, your dad, they raised you in a certain way, to speak a certain way or whatever, and to for me to ask you to go not swear for one day for 24 hours would be almost like would
What?
be not swear for
You've
24
reached your
hours.
limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
You were
It's a
saying?
hypothetical. It's a hypothetical. that point I was making was I can't. It would be very difficult. I can't see that the now Mandrell's in the back. I don't know if you want to bring him up for a conversation. I would love to kind of get his 2 cents on that. And again, Mandrell, he comes from a military family, military background. So he says the answer to the topic is yes. End of story. That's what we're discussing tonight. Because for me, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the story.
Yeah,
When
I
you
just dropped the
say
link in the chat. So if he
yeah,
wants
so
to come up, he's
when you say no matter what, um, again, there's going to be some levels to that. There's going to be some gray area to that, at least from my point of view. But I can certainly understand Mandrell is a multi-generational military background. So again, his father, his grandfather, so many relatives
I'm
after
not going
that.
to
So
agree with him
I can
too.
understand. I can understand some of that. But yeah, go ahead.
I agree with his statement. Yes, end of story. But if my child comes to me, little junior Spartans comes up to me and goes, Dad, this and this happened. I'm like, all right, let me go find. Let me talk to the person and see what's going on. Let me say it was you, Paul. You said something that it bothered my son. It was a little bit disrespectful. It didn't disrespect you, but I felt like I was out of line. And I come talk to you, yo, Paul, was it true? Blah 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 blah. He goes, yeah, blah blah blah, whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? It could have been at context or maybe whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter what the case is. The case is he took it a certain way. And I clearly aired with you. Oh, it wasn't meant like that. Like me and you all the time. Like sometimes, like I meant it in one way and you took it the other way, and it's fine. And we always talk and we fix the problem.
Right. Right.
Same concept here. And like I go, the kids should never disrespect the old man or the old woman. Should go to their parents and say, "Hey, this was said. It's bothering me. Okay, I'm gonna handle it now." I go to whoever said it, to the adult, and have that conversation with them. Like, why was it said? How was it? Everything. And I realized, oh, it does a misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's sometimes hard. Something that actually just happened recently. And again, this wasn't with a kid. This is with an older person who had said some things that was my wife took as disrespectful. Now the person was certainly adult enough to admit and understood what he said was wrong, and he went and he apologized to my wife, and then he even reached out to me later on and said, "Hey, I said something, that your wife took disrespectful. I meant no disrespect. I was playing around, but I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry and whatnot." And I said, "Look, it's cool." He squashed it, but it was definitely,
It's
but it
funny you said
definitely,
that
yeah.
because I had a similar situation. So I have a chef over me. My chef comes in, his wife works in dietary. I'm not dietary, I'm housekeeping. So she's in and out of the kitchen all day long. Agree or disagree, I'm not this executive, not my business. And she goes to me, "Where's my husband?" I go, "It's not my time to babysit him." So she took that the wrong way. And he kind of told me, like, "Do you really said to my fucking wife?" I go, "Yeah, I'm not your babysitter, bro." Well, that's my wife doesn't play like that. I'm like, okay, and where are we going with this? So we went back and forth for a while about it. Like, listen, dude, it was just a stupid joke.
Mhm.
And so it was just squashed there, whatever. But that's a good example. Like a joke can be taken out of context.
Mhm.
Like if your wife came up to me and I hope you know my friend anyway, says, "Hey, where's Paul?" I go, "I don't know. Somebody babysit him." Is she going to take that the wrong way, or is she going to take it like funny
Mhm.
kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? Which way would she
Yeah.
take it? You think?
Oh, she would take it funny. This wasn't so much about me. It was like it was something that was said to
Oh,
address
I
to
know. I'm
her.
using my
Yeah.
story as an
Yeah, yeah,
example.
no, it wouldn't be. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when things were said, um, and like you said, the example you said earlier, someone said something to a kid. The kid didn't disrespect the person, but they took it to an authority
Even a better
or
example.
someone over them. Yeah,
On last Tuesday, we had your daughter on the Spartan Arena.
right.
So, and I think she was great. I enjoyed having her. We all chopped it up pretty
Yeah,
good.
she did too. Yeah.
But let's say me being me, I said something stupid. Pretty common me to be some stupid comments. If she got offended or same way, maybe I said, your dad should grow a beard for argument's sakes, right? Maybe she got offended with that. You come to me eventually, right?
Yeah.
She knows my
Yeah,
platform.
she wasn't necessarily just. I mean, if you just called her out of her name, then she may come at you directly. But if anything, she would come to me because again, I have the relationship with you, and then things will be dealt with. Like I said, what happened earlier with my wife was the fact that the guy dealt with it directly himself, and then he reached out to me. I didn't have to deal with the issue. That's why it's like it's dropped. It's we don't have to go down that path. There's nothing more to discuss because you took ownership of of what you did and you handled it. Now, if I had to have a conversation with you, then that's another level. And then on top of that, again, how you accept it then, because some people get very defensive. It's like, look, I said it or whatever, but it's just a joke. Why can't you take a joke or whatever? But again, my wife found it disrespectful, and you owe my wife an apology. Now, again, I've seen situations where that can escalate very quickly, where you can almost have like a Will and Jada kind of thing, where Chris Rock says something disrespectful, and Will Smith just goes up there and smacks him. Those situations. I'm just saying, especially with men, if you talk about messing with a man's wife or messing with a man's kids,
That's a
then again, you got to at least as respectful as you want to be in a dressing situation. And I was even telling my wife this because a lot of times what happens is, it was said, it was probably inappropriate, whatever, but my thing is this: if you don't want me to address it, and this was kind of like the kind of exchange we had earlier. If you don't want me to address it, then why even bring it up? If you said it's not a big deal, then don't bring it up. Because me, I'm pretty even-tempered guy or whatnot. I know some guys, I don't care where it is. You disrespect the wife, oh, I'm in your face. And I'm not here to negotiate things with you. Guys are ready to throw hands. And so again, if
So
yeah.
in 3 years doing these platforms, be it me, mine, or whatever, and 3 years that I know you, hanged out with you at your house, New York, whatever, right? I saw you lose your temper one time, and that was because we went over comic books and movies. The
That
books.
wasn't a lose my temper. That
But
was
no, that's the closest I ever seen you.
right. But I generally try to live my life with it. But at the same time, I recognize that as a man, I need to be able to take it to any escalation that I need to take it to. If you talk about my wife, if you're talking about my kids. So I like the whole time, like, because when I found out about what happened, then the whole time I'm thinking, and I'm kind of doing some chess in my mind and talking about, okay, where do I have to take this conversation? If I got to confront him directly. Now, again, keep in mind, this is also an older man.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I try to have respect for guys. If you're 10, 15 years older than me, I think there's a certain level of respect that comes with that because you are older. So a lot of guys I still address as sir or mister because they're older. But at the same time, again, depending on what the response is, it could go there. And I got to, as a man, I have to be ready to go there whether I want to or not. And that's why I was saying, even to my wife, I said, look, if this wasn't a big deal, if you're over it, sometimes you're better off. And again, this is with me now, I'm saying. But with other dudes I know, guys that we know in this network, you better be very careful about what you decide to share because guys go from zero to, they're just going to just
Great example of
rent
that.
the room.
Ikele, whatever his fucking name is. Me and him don't get along.
Right.
We already established that. Every time we're on a platform, what happens? Paul, do you remember?
It just deteriorates,
We go for the juggler. We go for a juggler every time. Like
Right.
I remember last time it was we were talking about military.
Military,
American military is bullshit. And guess what, motherfucker? Last time we proved we were the best military in the fucking world. Now what, bitch? That's my point. Me and him go for each other. I will probably never be in the same room with him. I probably will never be in the fucking same road on him.
Now let me ask you. Now, does his age does his age matter? So I don't know how old he is. He might be 50, 50 plus or whatever. Let's say our Payne's the oldest guy we know, right, in the space, right? He's like 65, 66 or whatever. So he's 25 years older than you. Would that make a difference in terms of how you would address someone who's old enough to be your father, even when you have a disagreement? Or at this point, you're saying, look, we're grown men, all bets are off. F you too, all that kind of stuff is all. Because for me, it to an extent, it still matters.
I'm
Even
going
if,
to be
like I said, even
such
if
a
I had to
fucking
address the guy
hypocrite
today,
now. I'm going
even
to
if
sound
I
such
say,
a hypocrite.
okay,
So it depends on the person, really. Our pain, one, because he's like ancient, older as dust. I'm scared if I went to like flick him, he would come. You ever seen those dust?
now you're not gonna flick him. Listen, you think I'm big? Our Payne is bigger than me. He is way. We're about the same height. He might be a little bit taller. We're basically about the same height. He outweighs me by at least 100 pounds. He is a
That has nothing to
big
do with
dude.
it when it comes to martial art training. You know that.
I get. I'm just
No,
saying, but
hey,
he's
hey,
not
hey,
a. I'm saying he's not afraid. He's not a frail guy.
I'm not saying that. I was joking around that part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like me flicking him ain't gonna be dust. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to say was, RP I have a lot of respect for, because when he talks with respect. He shows you respect, and you get respect back.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I like about RP. Wait, Ikene is like, he doesn't show respect. He demands it, but he talks down to you. He belittles you when he talks on like I just want to be like go suck a goat's dick or some shit like that. Shut the fuck up. Like I want to put a gag boy in his mouth every time he talks. He doesn't show respect. At my age, I'm almost 40. And at 40 years old, I will show respect to him. Even a younger kid at 15, 16, 17, and 18 or whatever. But I would not take anybody disrespecting me. I don't care who the fuck you are.
Okay, so age wouldn't have a factor at all. Now you said you respect our Payne because of who he is. So again, your respect is based on his person, and this is what I was saying earlier. There's a difference. Love
Pretty
is
much, yeah.
typically,
I didn't process
like
it
I
like
said,
that, but yes, you're right.
love is associated with a person, but respect is oftentimes associated with a position, and a lot of people get those things confused. They say, well, if I don't love a person, if I can't appreciate the person, then I can't appreciate the position. And that's where a lot of people get confused. I'm asking you about our Payne, not because of the fact that you've known him, that you've had interaction, he's been on the shows, we've been on his shows. Not that. I'm saying the fact that he's 65 years old. He's 25 years your senior. Is that a factor in how you would, even if you disagreed, even if you got into an argument with him?
Oh yeah, I would
Because
respect
that's ultimately what we're talking.
yes.
What we're talking about is an age thing. So again, we're
Correct.
saying
Better example.
kids should represent their kid. So again, take this back 30 years. You're
I'll give you a
15.
better example, Paul.
Yeah.
It was a gentleman at church. I don't know him personally. I don't know from Adam to Eve, like I say. But he came up to me, made me kind of a little fucked up comment about my weight. And I said, look, I nodded my head. I told him I have a good day, and I moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Because of respect, one, I was at church to the double
Okay.
standard.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And B, because of his age. He was in his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one thing about Greeks. They sometimes forget where they are.
Oh, that's every age bracket. Yeah. You get to a point when you get to that I don't care age anymore, then all the stuff comes out. it's like you're not trying to impress anybody. You're not running for office. You don't care. You're retired or whatever. Yeah, some people get to that age where it's like, look, you basically say anything unfiltered or whatnot. I think that happens across cultures. But see, in that instance, again, you would show respect even when someone disrespects you. You show it back again based on the age, based on the environment where you're in, based on the fact that you're in church, that you're not going to repay evil for evil in that situation because of the respect that you have inherently for that person's position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times that's where a lot of people get it confused. People pay so much attention to the personality. I don't like this person. that they don't think therefore that respect should be shown because of that dislike for the person. And again, that's the nuance that we don't necessarily are taught, at least not taught until later. That's why again I've taught classes on this. Respect is about positions. So your age, whether you're male or female, your rank, if you're like in a military situation, the position that you hold. So yeah, so you might want to hold your tongue in that particular situation. So again, in Ekanay's case, I don't know, he might be 50 plus, but I don't think he's a generation older than I would say that. I think you
I
guys
know
are kind of in the same
it's a tribal
generation.
thing with him too. It's a
Yeah.
tribal thing because I know elders or act a certain way. I know that that's a factor, and maybe that's another factor too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, I think it comes into play, but I think that needs to be modeled across the board. But I think you just get to a point where people just kind of lose that respect. If you want a 15-year-old kid to respect a 40-year-old, then should the 40-year-old respect the 65-year-old? I think that's sometimes the disconnect that we don't see. The idea of when if you're on a bus or a subway and you see an elderly person with a cane get on the bus that's near you, do you respect the person enough to give up your seat just for the
I have.
fact that they're older? Or if it's a pregnant woman, so she's not old, but she's pregnant, which, and you could see she's pregnant, do you offer your seat? Again, that kind of respect.
So here's a little back of a story that happened years ago. I was in New York. I was living in New York at the time. I was taking the bus. I don't remember where I was going. Two of my students were up front. I didn't know they were. They didn't realize I was there. I see who they were. Didn't pay any mind to it.
Mhm.
So a it was a pregnant and an elder person there, not getting up. So me being sensei, I did the old ear pull. Went behind them, grabbed both of their fucking ears, and pulled them up. And they turned around and looked at me like, ha, ha, ha. Hey, sensei. I looked at them like, what are we supposed to be doing, gentlemen? Getting up and giving a seat to them. Like, mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? Give our seat? Uh-huh. We're going to get punished tomorrow in class? Uh-huh. No, so we better move? Uh-huh. So sometimes you never know where somebody's watching you. And the point of that story is you might not want to get up for your seat for somebody, a pregnant woman and an elderly person at the same time. But somebody might be right behind you. You see where I'm going with this, Paul?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's kind of funny. I was behind him the whole time. I didn't realize
right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, but those are I think, like I said, for kids especially, I think you have to show them those things early. I've done the same thing. We've been in the mall, you have the chairs and the benches in the mall or whatnot. There was an older couple that's, family that was coming up that both
Mhm.
the parents were elderly and whatnot. I gave up my seat and I looked at my girls who were like, 6, 8, 10. They weren't babies. I just looked at them. I said, "You give up your seat." I just think those are things you just have to instill, certainly in young people. That again, respect is about someone's position. Now, again, the arguments today, and again, we've seen this. Your age shouldn't matter. Why should I have to do these things? I mean, it's an often, especially we've seen this with a lot of millennials. Why should I respect Gen X? Especially since those guys blame Gen X and baby boomers for everything that's wrong with the world. So that's certainly, you've heard that out of a lot of millennial persons. It's your fault that certain things are these ways. So yeah, why should I give you guys the respect? Why should I listen to you guys or pay you guys any respect whatsoever? And we've seen that disrespect shown to older people who are like, could be the fathers of these people. Talk to, again, disagree vehemently, with things that were done, debate the history of things, question the decisions that have been made. All of that is fair and on the table. I would never take that away from anybody from having that kind of conversation. But to the point of the disrespect, F you, you old F SOB, boom, 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 boom. And I'm just like, man, that's a, that's something that, you know, how you can then go back and look at the generation and say, hey, you know, there's a way you're supposed to talk to people when you haven't shown it yourself. I just think
Yeah,
that,
this new generation, I don't understand where they're coming from. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Because this new generation has zero fucking respect sometimes. Not all of them. Remember the young man we met on the bus on a bus?
Mhm.
Very respectful
Yeah,
young man, I think.
yeah,
We only
yeah,
spoke to him for 5 minutes, maybe if we're lucky.
right. But you
But
could
very
tell, yeah, but
respectful.
you could definitely tell it was you. Definitely tell it was there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I think in part, see, but it's sometimes it's hard to. I think in part, I think he was listening in on what we were talking about, and I think that was attractive to him. And that I think is what led to the respect. I think what a lot of younger people today, the respect comes through your ability to demonstrate that you can offer something to them that they want. That seems to be at the basis of everything. Now, it could have always been that way. I don't want to necessarily pin this on younger generations. It could have been every generation because in the past, that is how you got, like I said, information.
Drop.
Because the older, the OGs, the craftsmen, the tool guys, the farmers, the guys who understood how to do things with their hands, the skillsmen, the craftsmen, the tradesmen.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you showed that respect, you weren't going to know what they knew. So again, they had what you wanted, and because of that, you showed them the respect because you wanted what they had. So it could be that it's still the same thing, that young people today will generally respect someone not necessarily because of their position, but because of what they have or what they can gain or earn from respecting that person. So again, a kid comes to you for martial arts because they want to learn what you know.
Or cooking.
Or cooking, same thing. Yeah. So the skill, they'll come for you. But the question though about respect is it always tied to, I guess, perceived value or performance, or should it always be given? Which is again the base of the show, no matter what. So what if you didn't know martial arts? What if you were just a 40-year-old guy just doing your business or whatnot? You encounter these teenage kids or whatever on a bus or something like that, and they just start looking at you and start cracking on you because of what you're wearing, because of your beard, because your tattoos or whatever. Again, it's simply the fact of you just being a human being, an older human being. Is that worth in and of itself respect? And I think what we're learning in this time is because of, again, the technological advances, because of information being shared, there's a sense that I don't have to respect you because I can get what I get, most things I want to get, I can find other ways to do it. So I don't have to owe you that. So I think the times, so I don't know if the human condition has changed so much, but the times and access to information has changed to such where you have to basically show and prove who you are before that respect is actually given. Even a kid growing up in a house, you realize, look, these people are feeding you, they're clothing you, they're giving you certain, things of life. Yeah, you better respect because that is your,
I'll
and
give you a
because
good
you're under
example of that.
authority, they have the ability to discipline you as well. So I don't know if humans have changed all that much.
No, I'll give you a couple example with respecting, other people. Anybody that I met through my mom's friends, her best friend or neighbor, whatever, right? They're always Thea and Theo. Similar in Spanish, it's same thing. Uncle and aunt. You do not call
Hmm.
them anything but that. You don't call
Hmm.
him Mr. Bennett. You don't call him Mr. Paul. You don't call him Mr. White or Mr. Black, Mr. G,
So
Mr. Whatever.
anyone who's a friend, a close knit friend of your mom, you just call them
Any
aunt or auntie.
elder.
Uh huh.
Like, for example, it used to be a gyro shop down the street from here. I brought him, we got me and mom used to go there once in a while. The owner was Sotiri and Nico. They go to my mom, Thea. Do you want extra tzatziki with your gyro? Whatever. I'm using examples, of course.
Hmm.
First time meeting her. not because they know me. That's what you did in Greece. Even you meet an elder person, let's say our pains aid, he's automatically papu or yeah, grandpa or grandpa. That's it. Automatically. You're never even related to him, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I look like I'm related to our pain? No offense, our pain. I love you, but I'm not related to you.
I still want a DNA test. That's all I'm saying.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
I'm still waiting for you, by the way, to take that DNA test. I think you're afraid of the DNA test.
I totally forgot about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know you did. Because in the back of your
forgot.
mind, you were fearful. What if I'm not 100% Greek or whatever? What if I got a little something else
What
going
happened? It
on?
does come 100% Greek. That's a beautiful, more fucked up part.
Why? That's what you said you wanted.
No, I'm not saying that in a good way. I mean, fucked up, a good fuck up. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. You got to roll the dice.
Yeah, but back to what we're saying. Some names in Greece is normal. Hey, Papu, oh yeah, or Theo, or Theo is very respectful like that.
Yeah.
Now, it's more American, I want to say. If somebody come up to you, hello, Mr. Bennett, how are you doing tonight? Or Mrs. Bennett, or Mr. Black, Mr. White, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's the American version of it. Mm-hmm. If somebody came up to you, like when I have kids and go, you come up to you, hey, Uncle Paul, you're gonna look at me like,
I got quite a few. I got nieces and nephews from every ethnic group you can imagine. I got all these Indian kids who call me uncle. All of them.
You're not related, are they?
No, I've said all Asian Indians, but they call me uncle. Or Momo. They call I think Momo is uncle, so Paul Momo or something like that. So
okay.
yeah,
great example. If my kid came up because let's say I came to visit you and my kids are with me, all right, and I brought my kids as a road trip or whatever, and he says, hey, they're Thursday, hey, Theo, can I have a glass of water? You're gonna look at me like, the fuck is going on? Or, like, what happened here? Or it will process. Oh, it was a respect thing.
Yeah.
Or you're telling me, no, don't do that again. Like the whole dad situation you had, and like you didn't feel that was respectful. That you felt that kind of disrespect.
It wasn't so. No, no, it wasn't so much. I didn't find it disrespectful. I think it was just inappropriate, and there's a difference.
Okay. I think that
in my view, he wasn't meaning to be obviously just. I mean, it was a term of affection, but it wasn't something that was earned yet. I said you earned the right to call me dad if you marry my daughter. Not engaged. I said marry because again, engagements, those are to me that's just temporary on paper until the ink is dried. You got to walk down the aisle, do the I do's and all that kind of stuff and finalize it. Or go to the courthouse. I don't care how you do it, but I'm just saying those things you have to show me that kind of commitment in order to be considered. We can call me that. So I guess to an extent weird. It was a respect thing, but it wasn't. But I didn't feel disrespected when he said it. I just thought that was there's just a proper protocol and etiquette that he needs to honor in order to earn that to earn that designation to call me that.
Personally, maybe it's me. I only have one mom and one dad.
Mm-hmm.
Me coming up again, I'm using as an example.
Sure.
Your daughter, boom, when your daughter hooked up, whatever, and I go to, hey, dad, and I'm like, that sounds so weird to me. I feel better if you're saying, calling you Mr. Bennett or Mr. Paul. And once I marry your daughter, okay, the Mr. can go out the door. I can call you, hey, Bennett or Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Or we might have a nickname for each other. You might call me shithead and I'll call you Baldy, for example. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a nickname, like obviously.
Right. Sure.
And so that's the point I'm trying to get to. Calling you dad, I feel disrespectful saying that, to be honest with you, because you have kids that call you dad.
Mm-hmm.
I have no kids, obviously, but when I have a father, when I have kids, Alex, they're a great example. He looks at me as his daddy, a pack leader.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Yeah.
just it seems disrespectful calling you dad.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't. And when he said that's what, and again, I had fun with it when he said it. I didn't feel disrespect at all, but I just had to. I just kind of had to level set him a little bit. It's like, look, like I said, I like him a lot. I liked him then. This was like going on 3
Here's
years ago.
a perfect example. I have a older gentleman, part time. He's retired. Rich. Rich is a great guy. I like fucking with him. So like the other day, he's like his son called a call. Couldn't hear very well with his cell phone. I go, hey Rich. He goes, let me help you turn your hearing aids up. I got a big middle finger out of that. So I'm like, and one of my guys goes to me, yo, why are you fucking with the OG so much? And he goes, you are not allowed to call me that. He is, because he earned the respect to call me whatever he wants. Like, really? I'm like, hang on, I gotta make a phone call. What are you calling? The first floor. Memory care? Why? I think they lost you out of there because you forgot who you're talking to. I'm like, fuck you, Pete. But we had that kind of relationship. We built. Obviously, it wasn't from day one. I didn't start fucking with him on day one when I first met him 4 months ago. We slowly built that relationship and joking around. Now this kid comes out and goes, "Oh, why'd you call me the OG?" He took that personal, calling me OG. Go,
Right.
I don't know you from Adam to Eve.
Right.
Show me some respect, and when we get to our level, I'll let you call me OG.
Right. Now it's interesting you say that because again, now I take a different position when it comes to what I may say to someone privately versus how I address them in public.
Okay.
So again, I would never like I have friends who are like pastors and whatnot. Like, if we're in a private conversation, I address them by their first names or what have you. We're good with that. If we're in a church setting, I'll always address them as reverend or pastor. Even though they said, hey, you can call me this or that or whatever. But again, in a public place or certainly in a church setting, even though we're friends, I will address them as that because again, I want that respect to be shown. Like I am your friend, and because I'm your friend, I will show you respect in all these places. It's almost like like say if you knew the president or the governor or whatever, like I would always address if I was friends with President Trump, I would still in public I would say Mr. President. Now, if we're alone in the White House, we're just breaking bread, having some lunch or something like that. Yeah, he can say, Donald or whatever. We may
Here's where
we may change the language then, but in public, I would never address anybody, whether I like them or not, as anything other than Mr. President or bishop or pastor or reverend or what have you. Even if he asked me to do so, I would say respectfully, just to also to protect who you are, because again, I may know you like that, not everyone may know you like that, and I don't want people to feel that they got a license to call you anything other than what your position is, because that's how they need to address you. And I'm good with that. Like I said, I'm always looking for, certainly if you're my friend, then I want you in the best position, especially around those who I want you to be your best. So let's say if I had a best friend, and let's say we have nicknames for each other, whatever. If I'm around his mom, I'm calling him by his first name. We're not doing the nickname thing in front of his mom, because if that's not what his mom calls him, then I don't want to disrespect. Let's say if you did call him S-head or whatever, or that's just how you guys talk. I'm not going to use that slang in front of his mom or his dad. That's us. That's, it's like if
what
they,
about if you said, let's say, dude or my man or brother, like those kind of words?
that would be different.
Yeah, it's not disrespectful slang. Is so respectful.
No, it's right. It's not. But I'm just saying. But if you had like you called them booger or something, or some
no.
other kind. I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
that's the nicknames that you have. Like you got a crew of guys, and everyone has this name. There's Pee Wee, Bubba Psych, Booger, Snot Nose,
For example,
stuff like that.
my nicknames, is Peter Greeky, like a lot of people call me.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's high school fucking name. I don't like using that one as much.
Mhm.
Spartan Owsley and Ghost. Those are the nicknames everybody calls me always.
Mhm.
Spartan and Ghost, not as much as Peter and Greeky.
Mhm.
Some people call me Petey. I'm not a fan of Petey. I feel like I'm like a Petey Weedy system shit. I hate
Right.
that
I got you. Yeah.
one. Like my Greek nickname is Pano. It's short for Panayotis.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. And to me, those are not disrespects. They're fine. It's whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But again, if I was in the presence of your mom, certainly I wouldn't call you Greeky. I would never do that. I would never disrespect. To me, that would be disrespectful to your mom if I called you Greeky, even though you were known by that. If we went around on after hour show or whatever, calling each other stuff, you call, hey, Greeky, what's up or whatever. Or I would not do that in front of your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't. So again, my thing is I want, like say, if I'm your friend, your benefit, your best interest is always going to be paramount to mine. And if let's say if you're in a position of authority, then again, I'm going to at least publicly. Now, again, I may have an issue with you or something or whatever, but I'm going to address you privately. But in public, you're Mr. So-and-so, you're Mr. President, Mr. Like I said, Reverend Pastor, Bishop, whatever your elder, whatever your position is, I'm going to respect that in a public setting when there's other parishioners or other people around. Because again, I want them to have that same respect. But again, what we say, and I don't take offense when you operate in your energy like that. I recognize that, yeah, you're my friend, but you also have duties and responsibilities that you need to take care of. Handle your business. I'm good. And there have been times when, guys have had to be in position to do things. And I'm like, you know what? Handle your business. We'll talk later. So that's the thing. So if I have a relationship with you, I got your private number. I have your info. So we'll talk later and, chat it up and do what we got to do. But when you're in, okay, when like you got to go to work, then be about your thing. I don't take offense at all when you say, hey, I got to talk to, hey, handle your business and do what you got to do, pastor, reverend, or whatever. I'll talk to you later. And we may dab up or whatever and be gone. And we may talk later that night and be in our more natural, more comfortable positions or what have you. So again, that respect thing, like I said, that's just big with me. I just think that respecting positions is important. And I think it definitely needs to be shown to young persons. But I said I would certainly disagree with Mandrell to the extent to say, again, that respect can certainly be lost. And again, based on your age, if you're 12 and under, yeah, I would be more a no matter what type of person. When you become a teenager, when you start asking questions, and that's one thing that I think a lot of adults are afraid of interacting with teenagers. Because a lot of times it's at the teenagers is when you start asking questions. I love when I used to teach Sunday school or whatnot. I love working with teens and college students. I loved it because up to like say age 12, you just go to church because your mom told you to go to church. But then when you turn a teenager, you start asking questions. Well, what is that Trinity thing about? What is this about? And a lot of times the adults will say, well, don't worry about it, or just pray on it and Jesus give you. I mean, they won't ask. Like kids are asking questions. They're supposed to start asking questions at these ages. And a lot of times the adults won't engage or interact with them to answer their questions when they start to express some doubts over some things. How did Noah be in the belly of the whale for 3 days? Or stuff like, well, why in the church? Why do we have these traditions and homilies? And how do we have all this kind of stuff? They start asking at that time. Adults oftentimes just dismiss it and not address it. And then it's like it becomes a thing. It's like, oh, what's up? So I get that at certain ages, I think the interactions between the generations needs to change. And so, yeah, 12 and under, it's like, well, I would say maybe even 13, 14 years old. Under that, yeah, it's kind of do as I say kind of thing. But you would do well if you do and say the right things. But when you become a teenager, when you start being able to form ideas and start thinking and rationalizing things or whatever, you better have answers for them. Otherwise, you start to lose some respect in their eyes because they have these questions, you're not there to address it. But when you're there to answer the questions, now what you're also building into it, you're also building trust. Hey, this guy's not just giving me the speech or whatever. This person is interested in what I have to say. And then you can then build a trust with them that will then extend even further then. So I think, up to age 13 or whatever, I don't think you should have to do a whole lot to build for them to respect you. But I think if you want that to continue, then I do think you have to give a little bit more of yourself in the conversation, in the dialogue or whatever, not just telling them what to do, but again, showing them how to do it, explaining why things work the way they work, and sometimes being honest with them as well to say, I have no idea. This is how it's always been done. It's a tradition, but is it essential? Probably not. Because they're asking these questions. And a lot of times the adults just shove it away because it's like they don't want to have them, because once you start taking questions, you start doubting and whatnot, and they don't want that for the kids or whatever. But again, how can you then grow as a person if you can't come to the faith? Let's say we're both Christians. If you can't come to the faith on your own, if it has to just be spoon-fed to you and you can't make sort of rational choices and decisions about, why you believe what you believe and explain it away, then how firm a faith is that? So you're gonna have to confront in all eyes. We've asked questions of God. God, why is this happening? What is going on here? And we had to come to a realization of certain things and say, okay, now I'm starting to understand things a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But if I never had that exchange or dialogue or gave that, but a lot of adults will look at questions as disrespect. Don't question me. I'm the authority. Well, if you're the authority, then you should also have some answers for me. But they say don't question anything. And again, I think it's not fair to ask a young person who's coming into their own, who's starting to see things, and we can't have answers for them. I think that's messed up too. And that's, I think, a major way. That's why a lot of kids leave. They leave church or they leave institutions or traditions or whatnot, because, they're starting to question, why are we doing this? And they don't understand that because no one's really there except for the few to really break it down to them in a way that they can understand and digest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, so with each age bracket, adolescents, teenagers, young adult, collegiate people, that's where you're really going to have the questions answered. Then you're talking about 25 to 30 grown people. I think that, the conversations and the way you treat each other, I think, needs to change. Now, I think there's also should always be a certain respect. Like I said, if I'm 30-year-olds, I'm going to be mindful. I'm talking to a guy in his mid-50s. I just am. I'm still going to say sir more times than not than not. If I'm talking to a 70-year-old, I'm saying sir more times than not, unless they insist that I address them as whatever their name is.
Let me throw a couple of scenarios here for me, because we're having little culture differences here. All right,
Mhm.
not a bad thing, a
No,
good,
it's
in a
great,
good
yeah.
way, right?
Even if it was.
So a priest or a pastor to us is always father. Private setting, behind scenes, closed scenes, open scenes, on a stage, non-stage, is father. That's
all
it.
the time. Yeah.
All the time. Like anytime I hang out with Father Cosadino, it's father. That's it. I don't say anything else. That's it. If you meet him the first time, hey, this is my priest, Father Cosadino. This is Paul, President Baldy, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just using an idea there.
Mhm.
That's one culture different. Now when it comes to my community direct, I'm working with somebody, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. It depends who I'm talking to. All right. If I'm talking to a friend, I might say, yeah, yep, yes, sir, no, sir. Like, let's play around a little bit. You know what I'm saying, in respectful way too. If my chef gives me an order, yes, sir, no, sir, I usually respond, oh, yes, chef, or no, chef. Now he gives me a stupid fucking order, and he does that a lot. I would look, I'm like, yeah, no, no, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not gonna kill somebody. If someone's like, because don't forget, I work with food, so one little fuck up can kill somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a little different barrier, and career is different. Obviously, if your boss says you, Paul, I need you to reprogram this whole thing, you're going to scrap it. We're going to start brand new code. You can probably say yes, sir. And I'll go ahead. I'll do it. No problem.
Yeah.
And the yes or no, sir, can be tricky too. Some people think it is disrespectful too. They feel old when you call them that. Have you ever realized that?
More so with younger people. Like I still say ma'am with
I do too.
younger women.
I
And
will.
they
I
don't
will
like
use
that at
younger,
all.
younger,
I
older
know
as
there's
well.
one just like they don't like that. Don't be calling me ma'am and whatnot. I'm not 60 years old or whatever. It's just a respect thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, they don't
The one
like
time
ma'am. They don't like yeah.
I put my foot in my own mouth, literally doing my thing. I walked in, whatever, the lady was in there. I go, "Hey, how are you?" If I was, chopping her off, I go, and I used "ma'am" a couple times in that sentence, and she goes, "You call me ma'am one more fucking time." She goes, "I'm gonna put my goddamn heel up your fucking ass." I'm like, "How?"
Yeah. Like yeah, I don't go for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't mean to respect. I mean, out of respect, I understand that, but I'm younger than you. Like, no, you're not. Like, yes, I am. Oh, I don't think you're younger than me. She goes, how old are you? She goes, I was 37 at the time, I think.
Mhm.
She goes, I'm only 31. I'm like, oh shit, you look old. I wanted to say this is back in my mind. It's just like, well, you look really old. I'm gonna go this way now. I didn't say that to, of course, but that's what I was thinking. But that's but even older women, I realize, not like trying to flirt with her or anything like that. Like, in a respect in an office setting, or respect for, like, ma'am, no ma'am, whatever. Like, having like, you call me ma'am one more fucking time, I swear, fucking God, I'm gonna throw something at you.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like disrespectful. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. I don't know how, but okay. If it's disrespectful, I won't do it anymore. So
Yeah. And now where you go from there, again, that's where that respect comes in. So again, if someone doesn't like being addressed, ma'am, I won't use it. But
it doesn't bother me if someone calls me
also,
sir. It does not
no,
bother
not at
me.
all. Not at all. And I
I was gonna
remember
say
when I was
slang for a
younger, when
while.
I was like in my late 20s or 30s, again, a
Uh-huh.
lot of teenage kids, they would call me Mr. Bennett or whatever. And I had a problem with that. Like, I didn't feel like a mister at that point. So I said, look, call me Mr. Paul or you call me Paul. Now I'm
I've
more
never been called
addressing that.
Mr. Little Riches because nobody can pronounce my last name. Everybody has called me Mr. Peter instead. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's fine. Um, the only time I didn't let anybody call me that was when I worked at E-Mates. When I was working in that prison, I go, yo, don't call me Mr. Little Riches. Don't call me Mr. Pete. Call me Pete. Straight Pete. They said, oh, we want to respect you. And like, then call me Chef.
Right.
My coworker got offended with that. And like, why are they calling you Chef? I'm like, I'm actually a real chef. You're not. You're a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So he got offended, and then, like, I got lectured about that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. My point is trying to get to is it depends who it is. It really depends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I think I've grown into the Mister in my latter years, but I'm still the same guy. I'm still Paul usually, and I'll usually have people address me address me as such. But
Mhm.
yeah, but I think that the whole idea of respect. I don't think questions is a form of disrespect. But I know people who, again, when you're a young kid, yeah, it's like you do what I ask you to do. But just because a kid, when he gets to a certain age, when he asks, well, why? That to me is not a form of disrespect. But a lot of adults have taken it as such. And I know it's like, don't talk back to me. What do you mean, why? Why? And again, I'm not questioning your authority. There's a difference between questioning authority and asking a question. Because again, and that's supposed to be the normal way that people develop. You shouldn't have to just follow orders. Why are we following orders? And should people be willing to follow your orders off the cliff? I mean, how many times in the military have there been situations, especially with Vietnam, again, going back to that period again, where there were heinous acts, that were committed during the year, the Harry Carries and stuff like that, where officials and officers were ordering soldiers to just wipe out a whole community.
Okay,
And
good
then
example.
they were like, well,
Great
look, we were just
example.
following orders. We just, but it's like, no, even in the military, you just can't follow your commanding officer off the cliff if they ask you to do something that's immoral or illegal.
Yeah, so great example. I had a buddy of mine who's perfect soldier to the T. Never talked back. He always did his stuff. Everything was perfect. So he was at Iraq during Iraq Freedom. When it first started, they were supposed to go out for a patrol, and he realized these guys he's going out with is not his unit. Number one, he obviously knew that ahead of time. He asked me, they told me, you going out with a different unit today? Blah blah, whatever. And he goes, these guys are fucked up on drugs. I am not going out there. That's a suicide mission. They told me, shoulders stand down. You're going out with them. He goes, he didn't say that, but he probably pretty much saying, get fucked. I'm not going out with them. Shoulders stand down. You're going out. He didn't stand down. He got court-martialed. Flew back to the state. He found he was innocent for not following those orders, but he was guilty at the same time for not standing down. He got this honor discharge either way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fucked up situation. You think about it. It's a 50-50 hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And the military will, oftentimes do that. Certainly you didn't commit that. You still have to, I guess, respect the chain of command.
Absolutely.
Even if the command itself may not be ethical. Again, there's a way that you're supposed to, there's a way that you're supposed to do it. Yeah, so I think that that definitely happens, but the idea of questioning, and again, if you are the adult, you should be able to answer a question, and I certainly, like I said, I've seen that a lot where it's because you don't know and you feel the question itself makes you insecure because you're just so used to being a follower.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't developed a rational understanding for what you do, why you do what you do, or why you believe what you believe. And so it's really out of fear. It's almost like a pushback that says, well, I'm the adult, I'm the older, and that's why you listen, and that sort of thing. And I think that can go south also, again, especially if you want to continue to earn the trust of those who are in your care or your charge. You have to start to explain. And even if the explanation is, what, this is beyond me. And you see this a lot with management. They'll be like, what, this is beyond us. It's beyond our, pay grade. Hey, CEO said he wants this, and this is what we're going to do. I'm like, fine. Because, I recognize that my immediate supervisor doesn't have the ability to question, if you will, a senior directive order. If it's coming from the director or the regional or the CEO, that's what we're going to do. And I'm just going to roll with it because that's it. But again, I still may have questions in terms of how we're going to do this. So yes, I'm on board with what we're going to do. We're going to do this, but I got some questions as to how to do it. And again, you shouldn't be intimidated by the fact. You should be able to recognize the difference between someone questions you on a process, like you want them to do certain things in the kitchen. How do we do this, or how are we going to make this work? Again,
and I
show
like
them.
what you're saying. I like what you're saying. Like I have my current bosses don't want to tell us or show us how to do it. They expect us we know before they even know that, and that's kind of issue I have sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Show me what you want me to do. I have no problem doing it the way you want, but don't expect me to know every last detail off my head.
Yeah,
kind of makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you're also, again, when you impart that on, again, I think the lesson itself, it sticks more. We talk about teaching the person how to fish rather than just giving them the fish. You take that as an opportunity to impart something, and then once they see it working, well, then it's even more so it's going to stay reinforced. It's going to be in that person's mind. And so we have to be, we got to be mindful of that. We got to be mindful of that as well. So I know we're coming towards the end of the show, even though we started late tonight. Again, we had to move over to the Sparta network tonight, Sparta HQ network, and doing the show tonight. But we still want to be respectful of time, so this might be a shortened show tonight as we certainly get into the final points that we're about to make as we sign off. Again, we want to be honorable to the time, but I think this is a good discussion. And again, I do wish Mandrell he could have came up. And we could have talked about that a little bit.
I think this one we're gonna revisit to do a full 2 hours on it.
I think so.
Maybe after our cycle of shows, we have because I think next week is gonna be open panel. I think this is the third or fourth show.
I want to say it's the one coming up. I want to say it's been 4 shows. So I think we're due to.
So when we're done with this cycle, because we're doing cycles, guys, so you understand a little behind the scenes how we do things. So when we're done with cycle, we're going to revisit this one because I think because it wasn't fair because a lot of you guys didn't know where we're going, because I think a lot of you guys are at ABMU hanging out over there and some of you guys are on this side. Yeah. So revisit this one. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah.
Oh, you got any last final thoughts before I hit?
No, just again, certainly look for again. Hopefully, we can get a replay of this show. We can possibly host this back on the BMU channel once we get some things worked out. But I think it's good. And if we can't, then we definitely need to come back and certainly run this whole show back. We do that in the live and keep the conversation going because
I don't have access to replays yet. I'm going to be working on that, so we're not going to be able to do that. We can download it and send it to BMU. That we can.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If we can,
I
think if we can hook them up with that, then I think we can certainly get that content out there and just have
he
it.
Can do. I can keep it short and all that stuff. That's not an issue.
Exactly, and we're definitely under 2 hours, so you should definitely be able to do all those sort of things with it too. So, but great show tonight, and certainly appreciate you guys hanging out over here in Sparta HQ spot. But again, certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, he is.
This is Sparta!
Sparta, and this has been the Gray Area on the Sparta HQ network tonight. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get it back on the BMU soon, but hopefully we'll get these going. So what do you got for us, sir?
I'm going to close up with an open intro, so we're going to do that instead.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be infringing on copyright since we're giving credit to what's been due. So yeah, we're gonna.
I know the owner owns the rights. I'm not really worried about that one too much.
Yeah, I think we're okay there. And let's face it, I mean, we got the best opening I think in YouTube, and certainly, so we don't want to disappoint our fans by not closing the show out the way we usually start the show. So you can certainly hit that up, and we'll close down the show after that. Yeah, I love it.
I knew you were going to. At least I cannot close the show without at least playing our intro because I felt a little disappointed we couldn't do it. But we're gonna talk after the show. I have a couple ideas how we're gonna prevent this problem for next time.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Enjoy your week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Now, where is it? I got it. Here we go.